Hey guys, before the video starts, I just want to really quickly remind you that we do have a Patreon where you can support the channel, help us achieve bigger budgets as well as bigger, brighter videos with bigger budgets, more unique things. With what you get access to our Discord server, which contains our old content, uncensored and ad-free for as little as $1. Thank you guys so much for your support already. We have nearly at 50 subscribers. It's so awesome to see. Without further ado, let's get to the video. Hope you enjoy. Hello everyone, welcome back to Character Chronicles, the show where we look at famous characters and go through their most recognizable stories and origins. I'm your host, the Comic Wraith. Today we're looking at Peacemaker, a man who made a vow for peace, no matter how many men, women, or children he has to kill to achieve it. Let's get started. So in 2015, a book was released. A book that you may be aware of if you follow someone like, say, the Panda Red on TikTok or YouTube. That book was called The League of Regrettable Superheroes, detailing heroes from all across the ages of comics, up until 2015 at least, that were just kind of silly and irrelevant and dumb, for lack of other words. And I have to imagine James Gunn is a fan of this book, because arguably one of his best projects is in this book. Peacemaker. Peacemaker has had probably the most successful resurgence in comic books. If you go back like 6 years, no one knows who this character is. Now he's got new comics, he has a live action show, he's appeared in some video games. As Peacemaker specifically has 3 different incarnations as DC characters reboot over time, I want to do something a little different. We're going to start with his debut in Charlton Comics, and then we'll go through on this video into his post-crisis and then finally his current canon. So without further ado, let's dive into Peacemaker. Created by Joe Gill and Pat Boyette, debuting in issue 40 of the Fightin' Five in 1966, the Charlton Comics version of Peacemaker was Christopher Smith, a diplomat working for the American government going out to countries on presidential orders to defuse conflicts between nations, particularly in his debut story where Smith is sent to de-escalate a growing conflict between 2 South American countries by investigating arms dealer Emil Bork, who was selling weapons to both sides. After meeting Bork personally, Smith had come to the conclusion that negotiation and diplomacy would be ineffective, and that violence was necessary. He dons a bulletproof suit and dubs himself the Peacemaker, a persona that employed violence only when absolutely necessary. Using a jetpack, he manages to catch up to Bork and his men, and whilst he successfully manages to defeat Bork's men non-lethally, Bork himself unfortunately was killed by a redirected cobalt bomb that Peacemaker has to guide. This rendition of Christopher Smith would have random pop-ups and reappearances as time went on, coming to the Crisis on Infinite Earths, where Earth 4 was one of the 5 surviving universes. This, however, wouldn't last, and they had to merge after defeating the Anti-Monitor, and New Earth was born. It's stated that Chris was one of the few that could remember his pre-Crisis world, but in his next appearance that has seemingly been retconned to no longer be the case. This version was also considered for Alan Moore's Watchmen series, but DC wanted to reintroduce Peacemaker as well as the rest of the Charlton mainstays, so this led to Moore creating original characters, replacing Peacemaker with the Comedian. And God, I wanted to be a universe where Peacemaker, or like John Cena, plays the Comedian in that movie.
You can't see me!
Word life. This is basic thugonomics. This is basic thugonomics. Word life.
Moving to 1988, we have the post-crisis incarnation of Peacemaker, who was born Christopher Schmidt, son of businessman Wolfgang Schmidt and author Elizabeth Lewis. He was raised in Austria in an upper-class home and was an exceptional study, his IQ in the top 3% of some young children. Unfortunately, his peaceful upbringing would be forever changed when it came out to the public that Chris's father Wolfgang was a former Nazi commander, and on Chris's birthday, he took his own life in front of the young man. This understandably traumatized the young Christopher, who, coupled with the uprooting of his home following his and his mother's escape to America, it causes Chris to become withdrawn and antisocial, as well as acting out physically, picking fights and getting in trouble. Simply brushed off as a problem child, Chris, at the age of 18, joins the US military, and he joins the Vietnam War, months before it would end. Whilst leading a group of men, they stumble upon a village. Chris is urged by the voice of his deceased father to open fire on the villagers, causing his fellow soldiers to as well, killing countless unarmed men, women, and children. Chris takes the blame, causing him to be court-martialed and receive a 20-year sentence in federal prison. Following this, Chris was offered conditional parole, provided he worked for the US government on Project Peacemaker. Once again, urged by the voice of his father, he accepts, and was a prodigy of his training. The project itself wouldn't ever actually materialize, but Chris was granted freedom regardless, and he returned to his family estate in Austria, reorganizing his father's company from being an arms dealer into a household appliance manufacturer, becoming a millionaire and emigrating to Switzerland. Christopher used his wealth to end war with charities in his public persona and with his own version of Project Peacemaker, making himself into a one-man army as the Peacemaker. He would continue in this role, inserting himself in various conflicts. However, the toll would continuously increase, believing his father and the souls of everyone else he had murdered possessed his helmet. Possibly brought on to the head injury he sustained during the Crisis event, this version of Peacemaker would appear in a few different runs until fading into obscurity, until DC decided to reboot itself with a new 52. Except he wouldn't appear until DC Rebirth in 2016, where Chris Smith was born as the son of August Augie Smith, a white supremacist, who trained Chris as a boy to kill and use most weaponry efficiently. Despite wanting to do nothing more than appease and seek the approval of his father, he was constantly mocked and berated by him, easily giving him some form of trauma in relation to it. Chris's dad would provide him with his patented helmets, each one equipped with a few different abilities, such as X-ray vision, force regeneration, and sonic blast, just to name a few. And similarly to his Charlton counterpart, he would serve in the military before making his way to Washington to eliminate war. And he also came to the unfortunate conclusion that war couldn't be ended by diplomacy. And while not in the best mental state, he took on the persona of Peacemaker. He dropped the, and he started extreme vendetta vigilantism. He was detained, and on the orders of Amanda Waller, sought out a mysterious alien weapon where he fought and defeated the KG Beast and the Red Rocket Brigade, before making his way to the town of Dangerfield, where he fought an alien threat. While he helped the people and massacred the majority of the alien threat, their leader escaped. Afterwards, he was pulled off to active duty and fell into a pit of depression. After some time, though, he was able to re-emerge, joining Task Force X, the infamous Suicide Squad. This was the most recent event in comics leading up to 2021's The Suicide Squad by James Gunn, where Chris was portrayed by WWE superstar and actor John Cena, and was then kept on to lead a Peacemaker series in 2022. This led to the comics following suit with art, making Peacemaker look closer to Cena, as well as his personality similarly changing. As of right now, Season 2 of Peacemaker is currently running, with Episode 7 right around the corner as of recording. Peacemaker is very evidenced of the fact that you can do almost anything with a character, especially one that may not have worked right away. James Gunn also clearly believes this philosophy to an extent. I mean, look at just how many of the characters that we've seen in his projects that are like so obscure. It's really refreshing to see someone who cares so much about the source material that they're willing to, use these kinds of characters. Granted, some characters probably wouldn't work no matter how much love and care you put into it, without just fully, reinventing it all. If you're looking to get into Peacemaker today, I highly recommend Peacemaker Tries Hard by Kyle Starks and Steve Pugh, as well as Peacemaker Disturbing the Peace by Garth Ennis, Gary Brown, and Lee Luridge. These are both amazing character studies, and if you're even interested in that, I highly recommend the 2021 Suicide Squad run by Robbie Thompson and Eduardo Pensica. These are all really good books, and I can't recommend them enough. And hell, while you're at it, try and get the League of Regrettable Superheroes. It's a really good read, and you never know, you may find the next big thing that DC will do. Like Kong Gorilla. I mean, what's James Gunn gonna do next? Kong Gorilla? Wait, there was a gorilla in Season 1. James Gunn, you motherfucker!